day of some Saturday NBA basketball. Eric joins me as we will preview today's 4-game in the NBA. Eric, you are, I think, like me in that we love sports, and not only do we love it, we love when there's a lot of it. I am such a fan of days like this when you get all day really good games. I love the first few days of March Madness where you get the 16 games. In baseball, there's a couple of those days, the first few days where you get the 4 or 5 playoff series all the way through. And we're going to get the same thing today and tomorrow. And these are really the only couple days where you get 4 games, because by the time next week hits, one of these series will be over. Someone would have gotten swept already. This is a lot of fun to kick back, especially because it's game 1. Everybody's kind of excited. Everybody still feels like they've got a shot, and basketball takes center stage today.
Oh, it's great. And like you said, it's the weekend, it's the start. We have 4 games, it's locked and loaded. And then when teams start to travel, it gets a little choppy. But the first couple days on this weekend, it's just balls to the wall basketball, and it's great.
We are looking at betus.com. We encourage you to just type in the website that we have up there, tinyurl.com/BTVBetUS. It'll take you right there. You'll get 125% bonus on your first deposit. So these are the lines for today's games. And Eric, for anyone who's interested in sort of a little bit more long form, Eric actually joined me on my podcast, That's What G Said, and we spent almost 2 hours going through.
Yeah, we dove in.
We did.
We went
deep to each of the series, broke them down, positives, negatives, kind of how if Utah were to win, how does it happen? If Dallas were to win, how does that happen? We sort of hit on all of those things. Now, with these shows that we have, we'll be talking game by game more so than series by series, but our conversation today is a little bit different because it's the first game, right? So we're kind of giving some overall series thoughts as well. Utah, Dallas, and another game that we're going to be talking about later on this evening are difficult to gauge because, the big elephant in the room, no Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is out. Dallas' best player, a legitimate MVP candidate. Anytime that guy steps on the court, year in, year out, he's could always be the best player there. He could carry your team. He's been incredible in the playoffs. We've seen him in the last couple years. Luka averaged 33.5 points, 8.8 rebounds, 9.5 assists per game last year. And this team, Dallas, was a team that since February the 2nd, they flipped a switch. They won 20 of their last 27 games. They were one of the hottest teams in basketball. Their defense was much improved, and they were a very buzzed team as like an upset pick to come out of the West, Eric.
Oh my God. It was,
we both,
it was I gave it out on your show when I gave it out on here the week when you weren't here. I love this Mavericks team. Like defensively,
about 3 weeks ago, like a month ago or so, where we would really see it happening because everything shifted. They were better in clutch. They went from being dead last in clutch time in close games. And then since that February 2nd loss to Oklahoma City, Luka got in better shape. They made the trade. Spencer Dinwiddie came over. He helped them late in games, and this team's defense really improved. They had more of an identity, right? Because what had been the problem for Dallas the last few years was when everybody was there, when Porzingis was there with Luka, they could be a pretty good team, but you never really knew if Porzingis was going to be there. You never really knew if it was going to be 50% of him, 80% of him, 100% of him. I think you hit on this. There were lots of weird rumors about these guys not liking each other, right? They just didn't get along.
I'm a friend with a Maverick scout. Those two didn't like each other at all.
Yeah, and we heard about it over and over. Those things don't come out of nowhere. And you can win sometimes, but I think the problem was they didn't like each other, and he wasn't healthy, and they sort of wanted him to maybe buy into a role that he still kind of thinks he can be the man. So this team now has an identity, Eric. They're small. They go small, but right today, they don't have Luka.
Which is huge. They like to run the pick and roll. The pick and roll is their main offense, and I was looking at stuff. Luka averages 1.08 points per possession in the pick and roll. He goes out when he's not on, and this is stats when they only played the Jazz, not for the season, when they only played games against the Jazz. Brunson in the same pick and roll action, it drops down to 0.939 points per possession, When it's Dinwiddie, it drops all the way down to 0.84 points per possession. So the action like the Mavs like to run with the pick and roll, getting Gobert out and everything, they're not going to be able to do it at the efficiency that they were doing it before, which is really going to hurt them. So it's really hard to see what change it. It's really hard for me to bet aside when I don't know the changes the Mavericks are going to make. But I did a prop that I like. Utah allows the 10th most 3-point attempts per game. Okay. And then I started looking and I locked in Finley Smith over 2.5 threes per game. Last 5 games, he's shooting 53.6% from 3 versus the Jazz. For the year, he's shooting 41% per game. And post All-Star game, his shooting percentage is up to 45% per game. So I like him to go over the 2.5 threes for today's game.
And you were sort of hitting on something. I don't know if Dinwiddie, if this was a regular season game, I would be a little less concerned, but this is going to be a playoff game where everything is heightened and everyone's going to be focused on you and you're going to be the man now. It's different when you have to slot up a slot. If you're the number 2 guy or the number 3 guy and you have to become the number 1 guy when you haven't really done that before, I don't know if
Dinwiddie hasn't been the one guy since his Colorado days, since the Colorado Buffalo days. And I mean, I completely agree with you. We don't know like what's going to happen, and it's tough to bet aside in that game.
I'm going under here. I can't see this game, and I was lucky because I was able to lock this one in at a little bit better number than we're getting right here. But I think you look for the best number that you can find for the under, and that's the play that because I really think Dallas is going to struggle to score at spots. Like I could see them starting the game okay, sort of like an NFL team that's got like their first 15 plays scripted, right? Like I could see them having a few sets and a few things to attack early, but when then you have to call an audible, right? When the game starts flowing, like in the middle of the second quarter, when things start to really slow down and that energy is kind of worn down and you don't have Luka there.
Yeah,
that's your security blanket
for the stuff they like to accomplish. Let me ask you this. This opened at 4.5 because there was rumors floating around that Luka wasn't going to play. Looking at BetUS right now, it's drifted up to 5.5. At what point do we say, hey, there's value on the Mavericks?
I think it's close.
6.5, 7?
Yeah, 7 to me was the number where it's like, if I saw that number, that I would have to jump in. So we're getting there. Mm-hmm. And if they're blown out in this game, and in game 2 we come back and Luka's not there, that would probably be the number that if it's around there or over, that would be like my jump in number. Because maybe there's a blowout here, there's an overreaction in game 2, and then we come back. And the one thing that you and I have talked about over and over, I would love to find a way to play against this Utah team. I really would. They've got so many problems coming in. They don't like each other. There's all this bad energy around them. You pointed out the stat a few weeks ago on my show. Donovan Mitchell averages 2 passes to Rudy Gobert per game. Not assists. Not assists per game. Passes. That's, you accidentally pass the ball to someone on the court that you're standing out there with for 30 minutes more than that. It's pretty crazy. Donovan Mitchell is someone, though, who is, I don't think people quite realize how fantastic he's been in the playoffs. You were kind of hitting on this, his playing or his bubble
years. Insane. Absolutely insane.
Were just nuts. And I know this is kind of like a square play, but I'm just going to, his over under is like 26 and a half, depending on where you're looking. I'm just going to play that at Donovan Mitchell to score 30 points at plus 158. I just think he's just the type of guy who is going to always raise his level of play a little bit. So I'm playing Mitchell at plus 158 to score 30, and I'm playing the under. I was able to lock that in at a better number more in the teens, but keep an eye on the best number that you can find for the under. Utah, the thing we saw with Utah too is when you look at all of the metrics for Utah, the advanced metrics, the offensive ratings and stuff like that, they are fantastic. They're number 1 in offensive rating. They're number 1 in points per possession. They're number 1 in shot quality rankings. The only thing that worries me about that is that it's because they shoot a lot of threes and they shoot pretty well from three. That's another one of those things that kind of slows down in the playoffs. Like you just generally don't shoot as efficient in the playoffs, right? And so if they're not able to like start thinking about their offense, right? So if it's not like they don't really run stuff for Rudy. They don't really have like a big that gets anything. When they go small, they're miserable defensively. When they try to go small, their lineups without a traditional center, they get outscored by 16.7 points per 100 possessions in 440 minutes this year. Those groups have allowed opponents to shoot 68% on dunks and layups, which would rank last in the league by a large margin. If you're Dallas, that's what you have to get, right? You have to get them to get him off the court, whether it be get him in foul trouble or just play so small that Rudy doesn't have anyone to really guard and you make it harder on him.
He's so lost when he gets out on the perimeter. And he can't defense at 3 seconds. He can't protect the rim. But it's just, I just don't like, I'm sitting back when I was working out this morning on my run. I just don't know like how they're going to be able to generate the offense.
I don't either.
What they want to do.
Me neither.
I have to physically see it.
Me too. And if they do, then we can jump in live or something. But that's why I'm going under, because
I will say this. You mentioned live. What Utah has showed us, if this is a 10-point game and Utah's up 22-15
they will spit it out.
We need to hammer 2.5 units on the point spread and throw a little half unit on Mavericks money line, just because this is what the team has done. They've spit out games that they should have won. So you hit it in the head. This is a great live betting opportunity in this game.
They have lost 6 games this year in which they've held a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, which is the most in the league. Within the last few weeks, they blew. How about that? They blew second half leads of 25 and 21 to the Clippers and the Warriors.
Unbelievable.
Lost 7 of their last 11 games, and think about the last 2 years, the way they exited the playoffs. Right? They got beat up by Dallas or by Denver a few years back in the bubble. And then last year they spit it out against the Clippers without Kawhi.
And I mean, so like, this team is just on the verge of exploding.
Quinn Snyder to the Lakers rumors. These Mitchell, Donovan and Mitchell to the Knicks, right?
Gobert and him not getting it along. I mean, if there's any adversity at all. So, I mean, like what my strategy is, I really think Utah wins this first game. And then I'm going to take Mavericks for the series. That's my strategy for this.
Especially because if you could get Luka back, because if there's the possibility of Luka coming back for games 3, 4, and 5, whatever it is, right? Half of the series, you just got to stay afloat. Can they win one of these first like 3 games? You know, that's really all it is.
They can't go down 2-0. If they go down 2-0,
I think it's 1-1, you're okay. 2-1, you're still okay. And then maybe Luka comes back game 4, right? If something like that were to happen, I think they'd be fine. But if they're down, I think you're right. If they get down 2-0 and then have to go on the road, that's going to be tough, because no matter what, Utah is a tough place to play. For all
they go down 2 road, it's the end of the ship. That's why I'm saying that's like why my strategy is. I'm trying to look on BetUS right now. I don't see any series prices, but when we did it on your show, I think it was a plus 210, plus 225, somewhere in that vicinity. After this is probably going to get up north in 300. That's when I'm going to get invested. I'm going to take the Mavericks. I'm going to take them to win the series after this game.
So one thing that you pointed out that I think is really good to mention for everyone out there. Somebody told me this when I was early on in gambling, and I was like, no, there is always a number that should make you jump in.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you don't like a team, a game, a side, a horse, whatever you're betting. There's got to be a point when they hit a certain number. If it's $1 million to 1, right? If someone offered you $1 million to 1 on something, you would have to take it.
Yeah.
It'd be like, I got it. So that what you're saying is great, because there are situations where I think this happened with you yesterday. You were talking about how, and we see this in football more where it really matters, because basketball, the points are obviously important, but like in football, when numbers move through key numbers, it's way a bigger deal than like in basketball, right? Like moving through 3s and 7s and stuff like that. But you get to a point where a number's moved 4 or 5 points because of one player being out or one small situation, and you just have to take that other side.
Yeah.
Win or lose.
That's what I did with the Clippers. I took the Clippers plus the 1.5.
And you were on the right side almost the whole way there, and it looked like it. And it wasn't like because you were someone who was like flying the Clippers flag, right? It was just this number moved like 5 or 6 points in hours because of Paul George.
You were 5.5, and Paul George isn't worth 5.5.
And this Clippers team had been proven sort of without them, right? Like we already had seen them without him before.
It's a completely different situation than this game because the Clippers played 51 games without him.
We don't know how Dallas is going to play without Luka.
I mean, Dallas, looking at it, I have it right here. They played 16 games without Luka. They're 9-7 ATS, but they're only 4-4 ATS against playoff teams.
And some of those were earlier in the year, right? When they had the different team. Right? This team looks a little bit different right now. So they're going to have to run things differently. And there's always going to be a number for you where you jump in on a certain game. Let's get to anything else to mention on this one, Utah, Dallas?
No, I just got this Finley Smith. I got over 2.5 threes. That's the only play on this game.
Let's go Mitchell for me, and the under there. We go to T-Wolves Grizzlies. I'll tell you what I locked in right off the bat, and I don't know. I think this is going to be a really fun series, and I'm a little bit nervous in game one. I would not be if this blows out Minnesota, and I think you were sort of kind of hinting at this when we talked. Minnesota, I think they'll settle into this series fine, but they did come off of what was a very big emotional win for them. They're not a team. Normally, we were all kind of laughing and making fun of them, but I mean, think about it. For their franchise and their fan base, that was the biggest moment in 20 years.
Oh,
It was since KG was around. The last time they were in the playoffs, they were awful.
Yeah,
they were crushed. It didn't even really. You almost don't even remember that they were there. Because it was
don't even remember the Jimmy Butler years, and it's a different type of feeling. You know what I mean? Like everyone knew after the Butler, they got demolished, that team was going to implode. Now there's hope.
There's
moving
upside.
forward.
You got Ant now. You've got all of a sudden, like, it looks like these guys sort of fit, right? You've got a young coach who's only been around for a year, but these guys seem like they believe in him. They did that weird thing last year where they brought him in the middle of the year, which we very rarely see in the NBA, but they got ahead. It was kind of crazy that they did that. It was like, what? They're bringing this guy in. And when a lot of teams at the end of the year just say, hey, we're going to tank, they were the bad team at the end of last year that was trying to win games. Yeah. They were that team that you're like, hey, keep an eye on them for next year because they were trying at the end of last year. It's like they wanted something to build on. And I'm really happy for their fan base. Shout out to my buddy Dave Handelin. He's the radio play-by-play statistician for them. So he does the stats for the radio, and I've known him for the last few years. He comes on my show, and so it's been cool as he'll come on at the beginning of the year and do like NBA previews. And we've talked the last few years, seeing them just sort of grow. And now he was on TV. He was sitting on the court, and you could see he kept popping his face in. I was joking with him. I was like, Dave, your camera was, you kept leaning in there. We'd see his mug up there. So
when is he going to hook you up with some Timberwolves gear?
That's what I said, dude. I want an Ant jersey. Send this over my way. I was laughing. I was injecting the D-Lo into my veins, since D-Lo was doing that out here when he was a Laker. That was a cool night for them. Beverly was all over the place, but that was last week. Yeah. Now you got to move forward. And this is a Memphis team that is awesome at home. This is a Memphis team that has been really good with or without their superstar, Ja. 20-5 without him. This is a Memphis team that if you are not ready and like locked in defensively, they will run you out of the building. Right at you in the paint. They average 57.6 points in the paint. That's 4.3 more than any other team this season. That is the third most in the 26 seasons when points in the paint have been tracked. That's nuts. And because of that dominance inside, their offense is really efficient. They rank 4th overall in offense because they're not that good in mid-range. They're 26th in field goal percentage, 17th in three-point percentage, and they're 28th in percentage of the shots that come from the three-point line. So a lot of their shots come inside, and they run They attack you. A lot of slashers, a lot of guys that want to get at the rim. I mean, just think about Jaw. You think about Brooks. You think about Bane. You think about someone like Melton, who kind of just gets in there. And this is a good basketball team. I think they're probably going to beat up Minnesota in this game one. And for the way that I want to bet this series, I hope that Memphis wins by like 15 or 20, and then I can come back and bet Minnesota in game 2.
Yeah. My thought process for this is I've been lucky enough to have gone to the Grindhouse for a playoff game.
Cool.
This is way back when, during my boy Zebo's years, when they had Zach Randolph, Gasol, Tony Allen, Conley, that whole crew. And that Grindhouse, that place gets a rocket. You have the Timberwolves game. Timberwolves coming off, a very emotional game. They battled back from a double-digit deficit in the fourth quarter to win. And you could just see the relief on this team's face for the fact they won that game.
Yep.
So I expect them to come out a little flat, a little emotionally drained. Mm-hmm. You have the energy of the Grindhouse. For the 4 games they played this year, Dillon Brooks didn't play. Dillon Brooks is an energizing bunny. He's going to get in Edwards' face. He's going to make Edwards uncomfortable. I actually looked at this a different way. The Grizzlies are a league best 66% ATS for the first half. So I actually played the Grizzlies -3.5 for the first half.
And as Eric posted, if anybody has any questions ever, why we're betting a certain side game prop total, or just a general question, something that you may be looking to bet, ask. And if we know, we'll help you out. If we don't know, we'll just tell you we don't know. We won't try to steer you in the wrong direction, but we'll do our best to try to help you. So here's the one play I did lock in. And maybe this is a little like square of me to play. I think Towns, I think he has to. I don't think they're going to win because of it, but I just played his over points total, which is 25.5. Towns has been awful in his playoff series. When they had 4 games against Houston, he only averaged 15.2 points per game in that series. He shot 27% from 3. He was not good. The other night, he started the game 0 for 7 with 2 points and 4 fouls in the first half. He fouled out with 7 minutes left. He was miserable. It was almost like he was so jacked up that the moment was getting too big for him, because every decision he was making was silly. Offensive fouls. It wasn't even like he was earning the fouls, It was like, he battled, or someone drove the lane and he like stood him up and showed. They were just like, really ticky-tacky bad ways, like not smart stuff of your team,
I really agree with you, just because I feel like the monkey is off his back. We saw
now you got a full series, right?
Yeah. We saw with Stafford in the playoffs. Like once he got that win, the monkey.
And you're on the road.
Yeah.
So it's not that home crowd that might angst you up a little bit. You get that anxiety, you get that extra oomph, which the home crowd can do great for you, but can also, for someone like that who's probably been carrying the weight of this franchise on him for a while, he put a lot of pressure on himself. He got lucky. His boys stepped up for him late in that game.
He gets a little too jacked up. And I'm just looking at splits right now. Played 4 games against Memphis, shot 52.1% from the floor, and averaged 23.39 points, which is right on par with the season average. So, I like this play a lot. I almost took the D-Lo under 19.5.
I agree. Now, that's a play that I like very much, because he is, knowing him, he is absolutely someone who will be high, low. Yeah. And then after like 2 bad games, you bet him the other way to go over. You just, he's really that type of player. And I like that one too.
I'll talk myself into it. I'm going to take the Grizz. I'm a Grizz -3.5 for the first half, like I said, because they're just so good ATS for the first half. I think the Timberwolves are going to be a little bit not deflated, but like, you know what I mean? Like relieved and everything.
No, it's just going to be hard for them to get quite as amped. Like they were amped the other day, and I think Memphis might punch them in the face a little bit here early. And then I do think they will settle in and this will be a series. Yep. But another one that just worries me, Minnesota ranks 28th in transition points allowed per game. and in defensive rebounding percentage. Like, those are major strengths for Memphis. And those are major weaknesses for Minnesota. If you are like a step slow, they're going right at you. Transition, right at the rim. They're going to rebound and go. Offensive rebound, put it back in. Steven Adams leads the league in offensive rebounding percentage. So I think, it feels like a bad matchup for game one.
I just found D'Lo for under 20.5.
Yeah.
I'm locking that bad boy in right now.
I think so. I think that's the way to go there. So, and because people are looking at, in the 4 games this year against Memphis, D'Lo averaged 31.
Yeah.
People see that too. And that's because I've seen the comparison on 2 different networks. They've showed D'Angelo versus Ja, and D'Angelo's numbers are better than Ja's in the 4 games they played against each other. And so people are starting to ride with that. That number is a little bit higher than it should be. It should probably be like 17, right?
Yeah.
17 and a half, something like that. Since
But
it's up,
us as gamblers, we have recency bias.
We just saw him.
We're not going to look that Dylan Brooks, who's their best defender,
wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I like that a lot. I'm going to lock that bad boy in right now.
Okay, let's move along to the final 2 games for today. Sunday, we'll be here with you tomorrow morning, noon Eastern time. We'll preview the 4 Sunday games. We've got the Raptors and the 76ers. So we found out that in this series, when they go to Toronto, Matisse Thybulle won't be able to play in those games in Toronto because he's not vaccinated. But that won't impact this game quite yet. So this game, Philly will be at as close to full strength as possible. This series is so difficult for me, mainly for the reason that you and I were talking about yesterday. And that reason is so many people are on the Toronto side. Yep. And so many things that you look at when you handicap this series seem to lean the Toronto way. But it's not that easy. And there's and if it were, Toronto would be favored. Right? If it were, Toronto would be favored in the series. If it were that easy, Vegas would not be putting them as an underdog like this because the Sharps would jump in right away and attack it. So while it feels like, Toronto, what were they, 3-1 against them this year?
Yeah.
2-0 against them in the games since the All-Star break when Harden has been playing. Harden was not good in those games. He shot just 8 for 24. And so in looking at those games, everything that you would handicap and all of the stuff that you would read on paper actually played out because Embiid was awesome. But the moments Embiid came off the court, they just beat the crap out of him. And that's probably what could happen in here. Embiid could score 40 or average 40. And if James Harden isn't healthy and showing something, and if Maxey isn't hitting his shots or Danny Green or Harris or those other guys, they're going to lose. Because the way Toronto defends this team is they double team immediately, and it's either a bucket for Embiid or they double team him, they force him to pass, and they swing it around, and it's going to be one of the other guys. And there are going to be a lot of these role players that get wide open looks. Can someone like Maxey shoot 43% from 3, Eric, like he did in the regular season, in the playoffs, when things tighten up and they're really focusing in on you? Because they're going to need him to shoot maybe not 43, but 37 plus, at least hit your wide open threes. Danny Green, same thing. He's one of the streakier guys out there. He'll have a quarter or two where he can't miss, and then there'll be a game or two where he can't hit the broadside of a barn. Fascinating series just from a handicapping standpoint.
And I have 2 plays in this game, and what you're saying about the double teaming and the open threes kind of leads into my first play. My first play, you almost mentioned him. I thought you were going to mention him. Former Piston great, Tobias Harris.
Oh, yeah.
Over 1.5 threes.
That's a good one. I like this.
His role on the team changed greatly once they got Harden. Him, Harden, and Embiid, they've played together 24 games. He's gone over 1.5 threes 15 of the 24 games.
I like that.
He's shooting 42%, and you hit the nail on the head. What the Raptors are going to try to do is the Raptors are going to try to double Embiid. When they double Embiid, this is
because they can't sing him.
Yeah,
they don't have anybody big enough
to people open looks. So I love this play. I was able to find it only minus 111 juice. So I love like this play of Harris over 1.5 threes. Second play. And this hurts me. This one really hurts me because I have dogged this 76ers team. But at the end of the day, and I like making money.
Yep.
And I'm not going to let my feelings for a team interfere with my ability to make money. And on one of my books, I saw it drift down to the 76ers -4. And I locked in the 76ers -4 just because I like the Raptors for the series. And this is going to be another one I look at where maybe I'll look at to take the Raptors for the series after this game.
Yep.
But I really feel for this game, because the line has dropped so much, the Raptors are this day's quote unquote public dog.
They're buzz. Yep.
Yeah. And they have and we need to remember one of their key is Van Vliet. He has a knee injury. He's less than 100%. That's going to hurt them offensively. Because
all of their starters, all of those guys, they play 30 minutes per game. Van Vliet leads the league in minutes. Him and Pascal are the top 2 in the league. They basically play 38 minutes per game.
Yeah.
All 5 of those starters. Scotty Barnes, he plays 35 minutes per game too. So they don't have depth and they don't have size. Everybody, all of their rotation players, 7 of the 9 of them, they're 6'7" or taller, but none of them are taller than 6'9". So they got a bunch of 6'7" nice wings, but are those guys that you can throw at Embiid?
Exactly. And also, like, last year, the Knicks starters played so many minutes and they got to the playoffs and they're just spent.
They're worn down.
And that kind of, I want to see this game before I do anything for the series, but that's kind of where my head is to take the Raptors for the series after this game. Looking at them offensively, the 76ers defensively, they're only giving up $107 per game while limiting teams to 45% from the field goal.
And you do have Thibault in this game.
I mean, they're really good defensively. I think the Raptors are going to struggle. And historically, I say it all the time, these guys are who they are. Nurse is historically bad ATS in game 1's of series. He's a great in-series adjuster.
He feels it out.
His first game, he feels it out. And I think it's going to be the same thing. I think the 76ers win. I think they cover the 4. And then
we play Toronto in game 2 like money line even to come back and maybe beat them straight up. You know, we see how it happens, but I think that's the way you do it, because then what could happen if Toronto comes back and steals game 2? Then all of a sudden you go to Toronto with no Thibault.
Yeah, and in my head,
and now you've
kind of in my head how I have the series playing out is the Raptors lose this game by like 8, maybe 10.
Yep.
Tight game 2. Okay, but they lose. They go down 0-2. Game 3 and 4, they win. In game 5, we get Harden has won every playoff series. We get a game and we're like, what was that? And then they finish them off in 6. So I don't know if I'm going to bet the prop for the Raptors to win in 6 after they lose this game, or wait until after game 2. I'm going to kind of have to feel it out, but I'll eventually be on the Raptors series price.
He looks banged up. He's had bad playoff moments, and they have completely opposite of Embiid. They don't have anyone they can throw at Embiid, and so Embiid should be able to dominate them.
Yeah.
They've got like 5 guys they can throw at Harden.
Yeah.
To make it really hard on him. Like everyone that's on their roster is like a possible Harden defender, except for maybe Van Vliet because he's a little smaller. But even him, he's like quick and he's spicy and he's like thick. It's not as if Van Vliet's small, right? That's sort of what's nice about him is he's got a good base, so he can still battle you. You can't just push him over or push through him. He can go up and get a rebound. But Siakam, Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, like all of these guys are going to make life really hard on Harden.
Oh, it's going to be really hard for Harden. He's going to
see what we did there.
Game 5 is kind of when we have that game. But real quick, I need to say, because I'm a Detroit guy, the fact that Cade Cunningham's not going to win, didn't win Rookie of the Month last month when he put up the best numbers ever since Jordan.
That last month was pretty crazy.
Robert. You want to say that it should be Mobley or Barnes for Rookie of the Year? I'm not going to argue.
But not the month.
Last month.
Yeah,
last month,
that's like
that should have been Cade's month for Rookie of the Month.
Absolutely. That should be, those are just a stats awards. That's not like a voting for the whole year and the narrative and if your team was good and did you help carry them to wins and all that stuff. Scotty Barnes has been great. 35 minutes per game, 15.3 points, 7.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and averaging over a steal a game. They started 14-17 this year. Since then, they've gone 34-17. And in that stretch, they've gone 7-2 against the top teams in the East, including 2 wins against Philly. And for them, it's, field goal percentage. They rank bottom 5 in effective field goal percentage, middle of the pack in 3-point effective field goal percentage. So they're not a team that when things slow down in the half court, they're going to be able to operate that much. They sort of like Memphis. They want to do the opposite. They want to get up and down. They want to run. Per ESPN stats and info, since James Harden has arrived, there have been 76 years of this statistic, and opponents have only shot worse than this number 0 times ever. Like, they're the worst ever team in field goal percentage in the transition ever. Yeah. I know it's a small sample size. They weren't very good before Harden came, but they are miserable now because you've got a big guy in Joel Embiid who tries to get back, but he's just not faster than any of the guys on the 76ers in their starting lineup. Not one of them. And then you've got Harden who, whether it's a physical thing, whether it's because he was tired, he's out of a strip club last night, whatever the reason was, he can't drag his body up and down over and over. And I heard, I think it was someone was on Bill Simmons, and I can't remember who it was, but I think it was the announcer for the Suns, and he was talking about, James Harden's body. Like, how do we think about the nights and all the stuff and the wear and tear that we don't even know about on this guy's body compared to someone like LeBron, who's sleeping, who has $1 million, has a cryogenic chamber. He knows exactly the hours that he's supposed to sleep, rest, eat, all of that. And Harden's like smoking his stogie, drinking beers, and throwing the ones up there. I know this is something that you've talked about quite a bit, but
that's the difference between you look at the landscape of the NBA right now. If we're going to fast forward 20 years into the future, the only 2 players right now that are going to probably go down as all-time greats, LeBron and Giannis. And what did those guys do earlier in their 20s? They split the time in their gym, and you could see the transformation their bodies made. So they were physically able to take the grind and the plane.
They didn't wear it.
Harden didn't do that.
Harden added to it. It's funny because it's like one of those things where you're a coach. Harden's like the player that you would probably love to get your hands on, but then after like 2 months, you'd be like, I hate this guy.
Yeah. I mean, as a coach, you can only take a player to here.
If they don't want to go to the next level, you can't push them there. You can't motivate them more than that. And you watch someone like Harden, and when he is at his best, he is honestly, and this isn't hyperbole, one of the small short list of all-time most impressive offensive players there's ever been in the NBA.
Oh, I agree 100%. I saw him in the Houston days live. He had the quickest first step I've ever seen.
Unbelievable. And the way he was sort of changed, it was like officiated, the step back 3, a lot of the stuff that he did. So that was what was frustrating for me. And you'd watch him and you'd go, I mean, this guy does put some work in and he's got some skills, but it stops at a certain point. And that's what the problem with him is, that he gets to the point of the work that he put in, right? Yeah. And you look around, and whether he wins a round or whether he runs into the Warriors, well, what happens there? You run into the Warriors, and who do you run into? Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, guys that are driven and motivated way differently than you are. Yeah. Those are the guys that are out there in the gym doing more and more. Why hasn't he gotten over the hump? It's that reason. He hasn't put the extra in, and his body's really wearing down on him.
And it's showing, like his hamstring. Yep. He doesn't have that quick first step, and that's at the end of the day is it's gonna. Sixers aren't winning it this year. I hate to break it to people.
No, I don't think so either. I don't. I don't. The only reason why I don't say something like I don't say the absolute like that is because we've seen some weird stuff happen in the last few years where like other teams get hurt and banged up, and it's like. Right now, if everybody's healthy, they're not winning it. They're not winning it, right? 100%. If
people start dropping like flies, then
weird stuff can always happen, and Embiid could carry you. But They are
And
going to need
Embiid has a history in the playoffs of start drifting out to that 3-point line. If he starts doing that,
they're in trouble. And
I mean,
he can't
one
do
of
that
my
this year. He
one of
can't.
my friends, like who works in the NBA, his thing was like, dude, if Embiid played in the 80s, we're talking one of the all-time greats because the coaches would force him to be playing down low. He drifts out a lot by the arc, and I really don't like that about his game.
Yeah, and we've said it with him because I actually really like him. And what I hope for him is he just needs to be led by a better voice than he's ever had talking to him. Think about the people who have been in Embiid's ears forever. It's been the 76ers losing organization. It's been Brett Brown. And now it's been Doc Rivers. Like, he hasn't really had fantastic coaches or leaders. He never had a leader in Philadelphia, someone to take him under his wing and say, hey, big man, you're not acting right now. Or, hey, big man, here's what we need you to do. And what's funny is, you remember when Shaq and those guys called him out? Right after that, he was awesome. You know, when they called him out on TNT for that kind of stuff. I think he's the type of guy who's motivated like that. Like, he and Harden, two different conversations. Because I think Joel, I watch his game. He's got a better handle. He is a little bit better perimeter shooter. He is better at getting out of the double team than he was. Like, every year he does sort of add to his game. For him, the problem is physically, can he stay healthy? And with the big guys, I always worry, are they just going to get worn down? We've seen it with him. You know, is it his fault? Maybe, but maybe it's not even his fault, right? Maybe it's just your knees are too big. You're carrying too much weight. Your body's not supposed to do that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, my uncle used to be the team doctor way back when for the Saints. And he told me, he's like, NBA players aren't made to be 275 pounds jumping around on the court. Your body's not made like that.
And over stress on your back.
Time, that's just going to take its toll. Some people are just built different and can take it. I never want to see anyone's career cut short by injury, even if I despise them.
But it's hard not to talk about the possibilities of it happening or talk about players who have been injury prone, right?
Yeah.
This is some conversation that I have a lot with Anthony Davis, where I don't like this year, Anthony Davis got hurt. 2 guys rolled into him. I mean, does that mean he's injury prone or unlucky? Somebody literally rolled into his ankle. And it's like, that feels like, and it's another thing that Simmons said yesterday, which I agree with. You watch games sometimes and it's like, how the hell do more people not get hurt? It's pretty incredible, you know, with as fast as these guys are, athletic as they are, as quick as they're moving all the time, that more ankles don't get turned, that more feet don't get stepped on. And this series,
like, I know this isn't a Lakers podcast.
No.
But like, we're talking about people like changing their bodies and everything. And you've mentioned a couple of times how this year Anthony Davis came in with the goal of putting on more muscle and everything. He's 29 years old, right? 29, 28, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yep.
I think there would have been a bigger difference if he elected to do that early 20s.
Completely agree. It's too late now to change. It's not too late to change the way you are, but to completely change your body. I think it's too late to do that at this point because you become too top heavy. You're not used to the weight you're carrying. Anthony Davis, one of the major positives about him, the guy's super bouncy. Like, that used to be one of the negatives early on in his career. People would be like, dude, don't go try to block that shot. You weren't going to block it. You're going to hurt yourself. Like, you can't go after every shot, you know? And so if this guy's not bouncing around, he loses a whole lot. I completely agree with you. I think for him, he needs to just, like, go chill with freaking LeBron and do, like, everything he does. LeBron's strong and he's got muscle, but it's not like LeBron is some absurd, like, building muscle. I think at this point, he's conditioning himself. It's maintaining.
And that's what Davis needs to do. He needs to do the maintaining. I need to get my body
endurance, stamina, endurance.
To build up. Yeah.
We don't need more strength like that. Just more endurance, more rep, more stamina. He's never played the minutes that he played for a lot of his career were not even close to as important as the minutes he played in the 1 year he's really played the full year for the Lakers, right? Yeah. It's like what they say when you're a pitcher, the stressful innings and the stressful pitches, right? It's the same sort of thing. Like, those games and those minutes, they're way different from the minutes that we see today when the playoffs start.
That's why, like you and I have talked, you know, and this is coming into the game we're going into. the stress of the playoffs, there's zero chance in my eyes that Jamal Murray plays in this series or in any playoffs, because that's just unfair to him.
Or Ben
because
Simmons. How do you do that to him? You put him on the road at Boston with a crowd like that, and he's got to chase around Jason Tatum.
Yeah,
like
it's just
you got
unfair.
No,
you're setting up the player to fail in a stressful situation. If this is mid-January, beginning of February, completely different. But we're talking about stressful situations. You can't do that to any player, no matter how great they are in Murray or how great Simmons is defensively.
Nope. Philly, Toronto, one of the most intriguing first-round playoff matchups. We got game 1 coming up a little later on today. It's the third game of 4 on the. Let's get to the final game for today. Eric, this evening, we've got Denver at Golden State. So this game now is in like the 6.5 range or so. And it does look like Steph Curry is going to be back and is going to give it a go for game 1. Some really crazy numbers this year with the Warriors. Their big 3, Clay, Dre, and Curry. I won't say Clay, Dre, and Curry. So I get a little rhyme there. They played 11 total minutes together this year. So Clay was hurt. The game that Clay came back, Draymond got hurt. Draymond was hurt for a while. The game that he came back, Steph got hurt. And then Steph has not played since. The projected starting lineup with Wiggins and Looney, they played a total of 7 seconds together. I thought was the time when Draymond just sort of walked out on the court. They didn't even do anything. So their starting lineup, for as much as we know that these 3 guys have won a lot of games together through the years, this group of 5 hasn't played together at all.
No, they haven't played together at all. And that's another thing. Like, Steph hasn't played forever. We don't know defensively what he's going to do. We don't know.
He's got to be a little rusty too, right?
Yeah. We don't know how Poole's going to react to
his role being a little different.
Yeah. We don't know how much Clay is going to be able to go to his knee. Draymond isn't the Draymond of old. Jay Crowder was able to get him off his game talking stuff. But this is another game. Like, sidewise for me, I can't get invested just because you don't know what's going to happen with the Warriors, like we just talked about. On the flip side, this Nuggets team, I'll give their coach Malone all the credit in the world. To have this record, to be 6 in the West, to be 6, avoid the play-in when you don't have your second and third best player. That's a remarkable effort.
It's incredible. It really is. And I hope people understand how good Jokic is.
Yeah,
I really do, because this guy is fan-freaking-tastic. The Nuggets have outscored their opponents by 8.4 points per 100 possessions when he's on the floor. When he's not, they go from up 8 to down 8. They get outscored by 7.9 points immediately. That differential was the biggest among the 261 players who have qualified for that stat because they played 1,000 minutes this year. It's nuts. And in the 4 games against the Warriors, the 56 minutes that he's off the court, they get outscored by 19. So literally every game, he's out for a few minutes, you're down by another 5.
He just does so much. And that kind of leads me to my player prop. I got one player prop in here, and I'm just looking at this. You look at the lineup the Nuggets are going to roll out. It's going to be Will the Thrill, Aaron Gordon, Jeff Green, who has good playoff experience, Joker, and Monty Morris. Looking at that lineup, who's going to be the player you're going to look to hide Steph or Poole on defense? Monty Morris. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to attack. I think Monty Morris over 1.5 threes. I found that at -125. Love that bet a lot because they're going to double team Joker. They're going to leave Monty. They're going to say, hey, if Morris beats us, he beats us. I like the over 1.5 threes for Monty Morris.
Okay. So our plays are a little similar. I'm attacking a player prop for Denver, and I'm Bones Highland, the rookie. Okay. So because I think the same thing, he is someone who I feel like if Denver's struggling to score, he's going to come in off the bench. He's someone who's averaged 14 plus points per game in March. He had 3 20-point games. And he's the type of guy who's not really scared of the moment. He'll come in, he'll go right at Steph. He'll attack Steph if he's in there as sort of a weakness. So I could see him coming into the game and being someone who isn't afraid of the moment and actually is one of the few guys out there who can get their own. And his over-under for total points is only 11.5. He's been averaging, like I said, in the month of March, he averaged 14 plus. We've seen him hit 23 times. He's the type of guy who they will need in the playoffs that can go get his own, because you don't have Jamal. You don't have Michael Porter Jr. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for some of those role players when they make it hard on Jokic. A guy like Highland can actually go get his own. So I think he's going to be someone I look to play in a couple of these games early on, because I wouldn't be surprised if he has a nice 15, 20-point game. I'm going over Highland, 11.5 points.
I like that because, like you said, if I'm just Steve Kerr and I'm sitting here, that's someone I'm going to make beat me. So he's going to get plenty of run. And just looking at it, the Warriors aren't the best defending the guard position.
No. And Clay, like you said, you think about Steph, and now you've got Clay, who's not the same guy that he was before defensively. How could he be? Physically, he's just not there. He probably won't ever be there again. But if you think there will ever be that same version of Clay, it won't be until at least the middle of next year.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, we're both thinking the same. We both targeted different players. So,
same kind of handicap, targeting the perimeter of Golden State, their perimeter defense, and we're both going with the player prop. No real lean in the side for me here, because like we said, I mean, if Curry steps out there and then within 3 minutes he can't really go, this changes.
Then you look at Denver
everything.
live. This is going to be a live trading game where you have to kind of sit. But even if hypothetically, let's say there is some rust, and let's say the Nuggets do get out to an early 10-2, 12-4 lead, there's going to be a situation where they have first half live. Like you can take a little first half line Nuggets, maybe get them live at plus odds. So I think this game is going to offer some live trading value for sure.
Eric, my friend, we went long today. We
talked for a while.
Yeah, we had a good time, but you know what? It's the first day of these playoff series. We have a lot to discuss. 4 games today, a lot of fun, and I'm going to be kicking back. This is the end of my work for today, and the only thing I've got going on tomorrow is our show again. So I'm going to kick back. I'm going to crack open a few and watch these games today. We encourage anyone who wants to play along to head on over to BetUS, tinyurl.com/bet. Check out the all of the options that they have over there at BetUS. I want to show you one thing before we get out of here. A great way that you can support all of us over at Better Than Vegas with the Old Smoke Clothing Better Than Vegas collection shirt. Check this bad boy out, Eric. We've got the I Don't Bet, I Win shirt. And what's great about this, Eric, is you and I win. We win. But for some of the people out there who may not win, don't worry, it's okay. You don't have to you don't have to tell us if you do or don't, but you can wear this shirt around, you can flaunt this bad boy. People will think you are winning. And I know you love this, Eric, because it's kind of doesn't it sort of remind you of the LeBron, the warm up? I know you love that, right? You love that bad boy, right? The chalk which the GOAT, Austin Reeves, did the other day. He made fun of LeBron in the final game, and he went up to the desk with Malik Monk, and the two of them did the chalk stuff, and they were all laughing. And then Austin Reeves went out there and had a triple-double. So shout out to the GOAT. Yeah, I think some of the Laker fans on one of the podcasts I said, we voted Austin Reeves 4th-team All-NBA. So that's where he was this year for our Laker fans. I Don't Bet, I Win. Check out that shirt. The promo code Gino will get you free shipping. It's a great way to show your support for some of us over here at Better Than Vegas. Eric, my friend, you keep things rolling. I will see you tomorrow, noon Eastern. We'll have 4 more games to dissect. Good luck in your plays today, buddy.
Good luck to you, man. Let's make some money, dude.
Folks, good luck to everyone out there. Have a fantastic Saturday. Flip those